Shalom. Kol Halalina Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone. Shalom to the prophets of the body. Shalom to the 144,000 and one third. May peace and blessings be upon your households. Okay. Now, part of the scriptures is being, you got to be very spiritual as well, because sometimes when you look at things, scriptures jump into your mind and a whole, a picture is built up. Okay. Now I'm going to play the next. I want to play this music. I was about to say music segment. I want to play this news segment. All right. It's a weapons company founded by 21-year-old lands a U.S. Army contract. Okay. Now, this is approximately 2 days old. Right. We are approaching World War III. Revelations 11:14. Revelation 11:14. And you think to yourself, how would a 21-year-old, where would he get the funds to start all this? Obviously, he's being, he's got some kind of sugar daddy. He's basically being funded, more than likely, right? And he's an Edomite, so this is his world. Even though we're at the tail end, some Edomites are, well, most Edomites that are in a power position, still have a fair shake and a stronghold because this is their world, even though we're at the tail end of it, right? So, I just want you to look at this news segment for the first couple of minutes, and it'll give you the Edomite in a nutshell. In basically in a quick synopsis. All right, you got what the devil looks like. Genesis 25:25 lets you know what Esau looks like. Okay, he is a hairy individual. All right, but the complexion part is, is red. Okay, he's red because at that time in the ancient world, people used to dye their garments a certain reddish color, and that redness was compared to Esau's complexion. Even though Esau is red and hairy, but the hairiness was referring to the redness of garments that we used to dye them in the ancient world, a reddish color. That was Esau's complexion. All right. Okay, and then on top of that, you're going to see something on his T-shirt, and then obviously we know that Esau is his blessing is his sword.
It's not often you meet a 21-year-old with his own autonomous drone weapons manufacturing facility, but this is Ethan Thornton, and right now he is rethinking the future of warfare with China top of mind.
It's not hard to look at China's dominance and realize that we need to be working.
You see the eagle, right? That's spiritual. I mean, it's all, everything's of Yahweh Bashim Yashai, because man's goings of the Lord, and how can a man understand his own ways? Esau knows, the so-called white man, the elites know that they're Edomites, okay? So they're going to let you know. They're going to give indications, okay? And now, that's an Edomite rolled up in a nutshell, basic looking peckerwood, right? And then you got that the eagle symbol as well. Ethan Thornton. Now, that kind of name, what does that allude to? He's from one of them so-called elite type-esque families, right? Now, let's just go to a scripture. I've got a couple of scriptures lined up here, man. Oh, here we go. Obadiah 1:4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, right? Every single Edomite rulership, okay? You got Rome, you got Greece, okay? Even the Hamite rulership, I believe. But most of the strongholds of Esau, right? The symbols have always been what? The eagle, right? What's the symbol of America? The eagle, right? Or the golden-haired eagle. There's different types of eagles, right? The golden-haired eagle. Oh, I said golden-haired. It says golden. Is that the one? The golden-haired eagle, America's symbol. Yeah. Kind of like that, with a yellow beak, the white head, What's the most common eagle in America? Oh, the bald. Is it the golden eagle? The bald-headed eagle. The bald-headed eagle. All right. It's along those lines. All right. Obadiah 1 and 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemashai. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, because the eagle is a lofty bird. It's always really high up, in the sky. It likes to look down. The same way Esau likes to look down from his luxury apartment buildings and on the 55th floor or 60th floor, whatever, looking down upon everyone. They're like that. And it sort of reminds them of their days in Mount Seir, and the Caucasus Mountains, because they were high up. All right. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, with their space stations, and they say that they went and landed on the moon, which they didn't, of course. Right? Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemashai. The Lord is going to bring them down. All right. The Lord is going to bring them down. Genesis 27:40. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother. Okay, how they've been treating Jake. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Okay. And Esau hates Jacob, hence the reason why we're going through what we're going through. All right. Because Esau's trying to get his birthright back, which was never his anyway. All right.
Very, very hard as a country if we want to maintain relevance. That we need
China top of mind.
It's not hard to look at China's dominance and realize that we need to be working very, very hard as a country if we want to maintain relevance.
While China has been putting on quite the show of military might, when it comes to scale, Thornton imagines a very different alternative than the high-tech, sophisticated U.S. arsenal that we're all used to.
One of your missions seems to be trying to imagine what warfare is going to look like, not in 10 years, but in 20 years. You're 21, so that's literally a lifetime for you, and yet not too far down the road. How do you see the future of warfare in 20 years?
To me, what's most concerning is you can look at ultra large-scale strike with very, very cheap assets. So if you can find a way to get very small, like $400 to $1,000 drones by the millions above populated areas.
Let me just try to visualize that. So millions of these very low-cost drones descending over a populated area.
What you'll see it used for is taking out all of your cell phone towers, taking out all of your high voltage power transformers, taking out your cranes and ports, like essentially just stopping your industrial machine.
His company, Mach Industries, received a Pentagon development contract and has already raised hundreds of millions of dollars to think outside the military-industrial box. And that means churning out as many cheap, deadly drones as possible, the kinds of systems that have transformed the modern battlefield in places like Ukraine. But before drones ruled the skies, Thornton remembers watching the opening moments of the invasion in high school and realizing warfare was about to change forever.
You have very, very legacy assets, convoy of tanks all rolling basically single file. And now there's this class of weapons that you can use to pretty much immobilize those things immediately.
But when it comes to manufacturing drones, there is no country that comes close to China, currently able to build hundreds of thousands of drones every month.
If we're making a quadcopter and China's making the same quadcopter, we'll lose that fight 10 times out of 10.
For him, if Chinese manufacturing is their greatest advantage, it should be the biggest target. And his focus has been finding ways to try and quickly flood adversarial skies with cheap autonomous weapons.
It's a high altitude dropped long range glide bomb.
He calls
See, this is their weaponry. This is their blessing, the sword, right? Let's go here. All right, this is all right. This is when Esau asks his father Isaac for a blessing because through the Spirit, you know, the blessing was the main blessing which Jacob's got, that Jacob has got, our forefather, right, was never for Esau anyway. Okay, because the kingdom of heaven is a righteous kingdom, and Esau was never meant to be a righteous individual or his people. All right, and so through this, you know, and you know, Jacob means a supplanter in it, so hence the reason that had to play out, because Jacob is a supplanter, so that, you know, had to play out in the spirit, so that word, you know, supplanter can be emphasized as well. You know, if you look at it that way, and so Esau asks his father for a blessing. All right, and this is when the blessing was given, Genesis 27 and 39, and that is going to allude to this person in a nutshell. But this is their blessing, is the weapon, you know, is their sword. All right, Genesis 27 and 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live. How did the so-called white man get his kingdom? How did he get it? How did he get dominion over the earth? He didn't walk up to everyone and said, okay, yeah, you know, let's do fair trade and all that kind of thing. You know, they tricked, they tricked, they usurped, they stole, they murdered, they raped, right? They lied, they broke peace treaties, you know. They attacked women and children to break the Israelite man, so they can't fight back, you know. Try and break his spirit, you know. Look how they got dominion over the earth, even over the heathen. They didn't really get it through by means of fairness or peace. Okay, peace and fair does not exist in the so-called white man's vocabulary. All right, they're just an evil people. All right, an evil people. That's their nature. That's their track record. But you idiots out there still think that this person is not an Edomite. The so-called white man's not Esau. All right, keep on with that same keep with that same keep going with that same thought process. Let's see where that takes you. All right, verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live. And I just touched on the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the atrocities of the so-called white man, Esau. All right. They are the problem of the earth. They're a cancer. Verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live. You know, we've been seeing that. We've seen, you know, historic receipts on that. We know what the so-called white man is like. The Edomites, they live by their sword. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, which they do, that shall break his yoke from off thy neck. Okay? Okay, I already read that part. I read Genesis. Yeah, I read that part already. Verse 40, so I went to 27, 39. Yeah, 21 verse up. All right. See if there's anything else I can add to it. All right. So he's got a major contract. How old is this? September the 5th. Yeah, so it's all alluding to World War III. You know, the high, mighty pride of the so-called white man. Let's go.
This project Glide.
With one glide, you can take that factory out of operation for 3 to 6 months. So let's say you're taking 3 million quadcopters out of the fight with one glide. And that's really the asymmetric offset you're looking to provide.
The specific details of Glide are still secret, but Thornton did show us prototypes of Viper.
You and I could go and set up hundreds of these things in a parking lot somewhere.
Think portable Hellfire missiles, but with more payload that can both take off and land if needed.
It'll come in essentially a plastic case. That case will open up and become the launch stand.
And one of the highest flying ideas being workshopped at Mach, Stratus, built around an old and inexpensive kind of tech, balloons.
I think in future conflicts, we will see hundreds of thousands, all the way up to like tens of millions.
Tens of millions of balloons.
Some will be carrying sensors, some will be carrying communications, some will be carrying like decoys to get you to waste your air defenses.
So saying, hey, yeah, come shoot these down. It's going to cost you a pretty penny to get up here.
Exactly.
Mach Industries is just one of a whole new field of defense startups hoping to transform the defense industry. For over half a century, companies like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon have made up the backbone of next-gen U.S. air defense and missile capability. But today, Mach and disruptors like Anduril are focusing all their efforts on laying the groundwork to mass-produce deadly autonomous systems from land, sea, and sky.
The way I see future defense looking is actually a lot more like the automotive industry, where every year you're essentially coming out with new models. These things are being refreshed on a 6-month to year-long cadence as warfare changes. And then your timelines for development are months instead of decades, but hopefully even weeks.
He's hoping soon they'll have factories like this one spread out by the thousands.
Yes, I think a big thing for us is decentralization, is designing products that you can make in very rudimentary, very small facilities. You don't want one factory that if you go to war gets taken out and you lose your industrial base.
There you go. They don't want one factory. If you go to war, it gets taken out because then they'll lose their supply of weaponry. You know, he's talking about making weapons that'll take years. He can make it in months. You know, they want to churn this out quick and fast. Okay, because they're going to get ready. We've already seen the tanks coming in to different parts of America. You know, I've seen. Let me just Google what they're called. I'll keep calling them twin propeller. I want to know what the official term name is of it. What are those army helicopters called with the twin propellers? Army helicopters. The twin rotors are called tandem rotor helicopters. Is that the one? Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of these in the UK, man, flying over London. All right, they've been going back and forth at night as well. So something's going on. They're getting ready, right? And then today is the emergency test as well, which is the 7th of September here in the UK. We've got an emergency test on our mobile phones. And also, isn't today supposed to be the day of that blood? Is it blood moon? Yeah, September the 7th. Right. So there's a lot going on in the heavens. There's a lot going on here in this earthly plane as well. The Lord is definitely working, man. You know, and this just gives you a perfect example of Esau, man. High, lofty-minded, and their power is their sword. You know. Anyway, all praise to Yahweh Bashem Mashai, Bahashem Rakakodash, Shalom. Mawatha Bad Babab.